Today, we're going to listen to the fun story of Dennis and his family. But first, if you subscribe and like this video, we would be really happy. Let's get started, kids. Once upon a time, there was a 6-year-old boy named Dennis who lived in a big house with his family and his great-grandmother. They had a beautiful garden behind their house, full of fruit trees. Dennis loved playing in the garden every day, and he especially enjoyed picking strawberries, apples, and bananas with his great-grandmother. One morning, Dennis woke up with excitement. He couldn't wait to go to the garden again. Mom, can we go pick strawberries today?" he asked. His mom smiled and said, "Of course, Dennis, but first, you need to have breakfast." Dennis quickly ate his breakfast and ran outside to the garden. In the garden, he saw his great-grandmother smiling at him. "Today, the strawberries look wonderful. Let's pick them together," she said. Dennis helped his great-grandmother pick the bright red strawberries. They were so sweet and smelled amazing that Dennis couldn't resist eating one. "These are delicious," he said with a big smile. After picking strawberries, Dennis noticed the apple trees. The apples were golden and shiny. "Grandma, the apples are ready," he said, picking a few apples and placing them in his basket. Finally, he went to the banana trees. The bananas had turned yellow and ripe. "Yay! Bananas!" Dennis cheered as he picked a few bananas and added them to his basket. Dennis placed all the fruits in the middle of the garden and asked, "How are we going to eat all of these?" His great-grandmother smiled and said, "First, let's play a game together, and then we'll enjoy the fruits." Dennis loved playing with his toys, especially building big train tracks. His great-grandmother, Mom, and Dad joined him, and they spent the whole day laughing and playing in the garden. As the day ended, Dennis felt so happy. He had picked strawberries, apples, and bananas, and spent the day playing with his family. He couldn't wait to see what tomorrow would bring. The next day, Dennis woke up early, excited for another adventure in the garden. But this time, something new caught his attention. He saw new animals in the garden. "Grandma! Look, there's a cat!" Dennis shouted. The cat was stretching in the sun and walking slowly around the garden. His great-grandmother smiled and said, "Yes, Dennis, that's a cat. Cats are very cute, and they usually live inside houses. But this one has come to rest in our garden." As Dennis watched the cat, he saw something else move. A colorful butterfly was fluttering among the flowers. "Grandma, look! A butterfly!" Dennis said excitedly. His great-grandmother smiled again. "That's a butterfly, Dennis. Butterflies fly gently between flowers and have very light wings. They are special creatures." Just then, a bee buzzed by, flying around the flowers. "Look! A bee!" Dennis said, pointing to the tiny insect. "That's a bee, Dennis. Bees fly from flower to flower collecting pollen to make honey," his great-grandmother explained. Dennis continued exploring and saw a rabbit nibbling on some grass. "A rabbit?" Dennis said. "Yes, that's a rabbit. Rabbits are fast and usually live in forests, but sometimes they come into gardens too," said his great-grandmother. Lastly, Dennis heard a bird singing high in a tree. "Grandma, look! A bird!" Dennis said. His great-grandmother nodded and said, "That's a bird, Dennis. Birds live in trees and sometimes fly in the sky. Their songs are so beautiful." Dennis was so happy to have learned the names of all the animals. "I love them all, Grandma," he said. His great-grandmother hugged him and said, "Animals are a beautiful part of nature, and it's important to watch them carefully and be kind to them." The next morning, Dennis had an idea. "Dad, can you make a house for the cat?" he asked. "I want the cat to have a nice home here with us." His dad smiled and said, "Of course, Dennis. Let's build a nice little house for the cat." Together, Dennis and his dad gathered some wooden tools. They worked hard and built a cozy little house for the cat in the garden. Dennis was so proud of the house they made. Afterward, Dennis thought about how to take care of the cat. "What do cats eat?" he asked. His dad said, "Cats usually drink milk and eat cat food. They can also eat some meat, but milk and cat food are the best for them." Dennis quickly ran to the kitchen, filled a bowl with milk, and brought it to the cat. The cat sniffed the milk, then began to drink it. Dennis watched with a big smile. "Look, Grandma! The cat is drinking milk." His great-grandmother smiled and said, "You're doing a great job taking care of the cat, Dennis. Cats need food, love, and a safe place to live." Then, Dennis had another idea. "Grandma, I think the cat would like a toy." He found some yarn, a small ball, and some old fabric, and together with his great-grandmother, they made a fun toy for the cat. Dennis waved the toy in front of the cat, and the cat eagerly chased after it, jumping and playing. Dennis laughed and said, "Now the cat has a toy and a house. It's our new friend." From that day on, Dennis spent every day in the garden with the cat. He took care of it, fed it, and played with it. The cat became his best friend, and Dennis was so happy to have such a special companion. And every time Dennis looked at his cat's house, he smiled, knowing that they would always take care of each other.